What's up, guys? So I know I haven't posted in a little while. It's been like 3 weeks, but as you can see, we have the radiator in there, and I'm gonna go over that real quick. I figured I'd throw an update out here because I know it's been, like I said, 3 weeks since I posted anything, and y'all probably wondering if I'm still alive. So here it is. I'm gonna make a quick little video, and hopefully in the next couple days I'll make a more fun video. I'm gonna actually drive this thing down the road because now that we got her all up and running with the radiator in it, I'll make a video on that, and I might have to redo some of the tuning a little bit on this, tweak it a little bit, and we'll see how it does when I actually try to drive it. That'll be the next video. I'll film all that as I'm doing it, but there's a few little things I got to get worked out here. We got her up at temp. She's running at 180 degrees. Everything's good there. We had an air bubble in the motor, so I was working on getting that out. I figured y'all probably didn't really care much about seeing that, so that was just letting it idle and massaging the hoses and all that, kind of boring. But after this, we're gonna have to figure out a few things, and then I'll make the next video. It shouldn't be too long. We'll make the next video and I'll get this thing going down the road, so that'll be a more interesting video for sure. And I'll show y'all what I do with the tune and all that. I'm kind of using one of Holly's tunes, but I've tweaked it a little bit, so I'll just get into that when we get there. But might be 2 separate videos on that really, but I will throw a little clip in there of driving it, you know, because I know y'all kind of want to see that. So, and I'm curious too. I want to know if it's going to run all right, you know. I know with the carburetor, whenever I first threw it on there, it didn't run worth a crap when I first took off. It sounded good in here, could rev it and everything, but it was not happy as soon as I put that thing in gear. So hopefully this setup is not like that. Hopefully it'll actually go down the road and I can actually get started on tuning this thing and making it halfway drivable for right now. And I feel like just based off of starting it, and I've revved it a few times, and I'm really surprised at how well this thing is revving, and it's running smoother, it seems like. Now, a lot of that might be because my tune was off on my carburetor, you know, because this thing was throwing like 18 or 19 degrees of timing at this thing at idle. And whenever I had mine set up, I was more like 12 degrees. So that probably made a big difference. And it does sound smoother, so it lost its chop a little bit, but I don't really care much about that. I do like the way that it's running. And we might take the idle down a little bit so it kind of tell it's got a little bit of a cam in it, you know. But it does run a little smoother, so it's not as noticeable. But like I said, I don't really mind that. As long as the thing runs good, that's all I really care about. Especially when we get a turbo on this thing, it's making spoolie noises. I'm sure I'll forget all about that. But I was going to tell y'all real quick what I got to do before that video comes out. Just a few little things. As you can see, this is my power wire. I got it hooked straight to the battery. I think I mentioned that in another video. I need to redo this because this is for like household stuff. This is 10 gauge wire, but it's for like a house. It's not really rated for vibrations and whatnot that the motor is going to be causing. So I got some more wire. It's actually in this box over here. I'm going to redo that. And then over here, as you can see, I got a temporary little fan set up, but this is my relay. I just stuck it right here, and you can see my wires are just kind of dangling right here. I gotta redo this and actually figure out how I'm gonna get it to run here and stay with the truck, you know. So I might put a little plug or something down here. That way I can still take this radiator off. I need to pull the motor or something at some point. As you can see, this is the setup we got. We just got these. This actually came off a 2nd gen. This was a crossbar support for the radiator. Kind of went up in a V, like, well, I can't really show you with my hands, but it's like a V, and we just cut it in the middle, and then it's got these flat edges. It's a tube. We actually smashed this one down, and this side was already smashed down, but it actually worked out pretty good. This is holding the factory support that was in the radiator. As you can see, it's cut now. Not sure if you can really see that, but we cut the factory support that was in the doghouse out, and this is it right here. This is where we just cut it, and then made these little brackets here, welded them onto there, and bolted them there, so that way we can still take this thing off, like I said, in case we need to pull the motor or something. And this thing is pretty freaking solid, let me tell you. Like right now, it's checking the whole truck, so I'm not worried about it. I don't think it's going anywhere. And actually, it makes it kind of nice because if I really have to, I can drive this thing without this on it at all, you know. And that makes it easy, just especially for like moving it around the shop or whatever. You know, if I'm doing something and I need to move it out of the way, it's pretty easy to do. And something else I want to mention real quick. This is something else I'm going to be doing to the truck before the next video. We got some new injectors here. Now these are XL injectors. They are 44 pound an hour. As you can see, it's the part number on them. I got them for 250 bucks, which ain't too bad. Especially if you look on Holley's site, they're a lot more expensive than that. But it worked out pretty good for me because that vacuum secondary Holley I had, that 750, I traded that with a friend of mine, and well, I sold it to him and for about 200 bucks. So really those injectors kind of cost me $50, you know, as far as the total price I'm spending on this truck. So that wasn't too bad. And they're 44 pound an hour, like I said. These factory ones I think are like 23.7 or something like that. And it's kind of leaning on it on, say this, I'm not really sure what this motor makes as far as horsepower, but I know 25 pound an hour injectors are kind of limited to 400 horse. So if we're making somewhere close to that, we're only on like 23.7. We're pretty close to the maximum duty cycle on those injectors. And once you get up to about 100% on duty cycle on injectors, they get kind of erratic and you can't really trust them too much because they might, you know, they get inaccurate, you know, so it may lean out on me or something, and we definitely don't want that happening in a boost. So with these injectors, I should be fine with that, especially stock. They should absolutely earn this thing stock. And really, I believe they're rated for like 650, so I think 650 horse, so I think we'll be good. If you look them up, it's like 100% duty cycle on these would be like 700 horsepower, but obviously you don't want to run them on a 100% duty cycle, so more like 650. But with a turbo, you also got to run it a little bit richer. So realistically, it's probably good for 600 to 650 horse. So in that range, that's about where we're going to be at. And I think this thing, like I said, it made 253 at the tire last time we ran it, but that was with the carburetor, and I don't know how good my tune was. But theoretically, if it doubled, and at 15 pounds of boost, they usually double. So if we ran 15 pounds of boost, theoretically it should make 500 at the wheels, and then that'd be about 600 at the crank. So that'd be about where I wanted it to be, and these injectors should handle that. So we should be good to about 15 pounds of boost. Like I said though, these are all theoretical numbers, and as we go on, I'll kind of watch it as I'm doing all this and see what it actually is doing as far as the duty cycle on the injectors. I do have this boost referenced regulator. I've mentioned that before, and this thing I can set it a little bit higher on the pressure because the factory injectors are rated at 49 psi is where they make their 23.7 pounds an hour. And right now I set this thing up at 49 psi, but I didn't account for the fact that this is going to pull 9 inches of mercury, which are 9 pounds of fuel out because it's under vacuum, and it's running at 9 inches of mercury, which is the basically negative 9 psi boost. So right now it's actually running at 40 psi, even though it thinks it's running at 49. So that may be a little bit of an issue. I'm going to have to figure some more out about that. I may have to add another 9 pounds or something. We'll see. But like I said, we're about to change these injectors, so that really doesn't matter. And the reason these are so high on the pressure is because on the second gen Rams, I'm not exactly sure what year they did this, but I was reading about these injectors, and they were saying that it's not a returnless system, or it's not a return system. It's a returnless system, so therefore it doesn't have a return line on the fuel rails to go back to the motor or to the fuel tank. So they run a little bit higher pressure or something along those lines. And then the earlier ones didn't do that. I'm not going to go too far into that because I don't really care. I mean, I got new injectors, but that's why I set them that high to begin with. And now these other injectors are rated at 44 pounds an hour at 43.5 psi. So that's what I'm going to set this regulator to. It's going to be at 43.5. You can see I got a sensor so I can see what it actually is reading. And it's going to pull some because this is going to the intake, and it's pulling that boost out, which would theoretical boost. It's actually vacuum, but you get what I'm trying to say. So that's kind of the deal I got going on with that. I got to get that all lined out. And like I said, I'll make a video kind of showing what I'm doing there. So that way, if anybody else is doing something similar, you kind of having something to go off of. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but that's why I'm doing it. So that way I can learn how to do this and do it efficiently. So if I make a mistake, just watch my video before you start doing anything that I do and make sure that whatever I did is not going to cause you a problem in the future, because I don't want that to happen on anybody. I'm doing this to try to help people, not hurt them. So take everything that I'm doing here as with a grain of salt. You know, I mean, I think I know what I'm doing, but we all think we know what we're doing until we realize we don't. You know, so it's one of those deals. I'm going to try this, and hopefully everything goes well. And if it does, then you can kind of do what I'm doing. But with all that being said, I think I'm going to close this video out. I guess I'll start this thing for y'all just because I know y'all probably want to hear it. And since you watched this video, I figured the least I can do is start. So we'll start this dude up real quick. By the way, my alternator is working great. That little switch deal I got going on is working awesome. But it helped if I turn the fuel pump on. There we go. Well guys, looks like I definitely need a new battery for this thing. That thing has been charging for about an hour and a half and it still is doing this. So we're probably gonna have to get a different battery. But anyway, you can hear she's coming to life over here. She's running pretty good. You can see we had a lot of condensation in the motor. I think that's where it just sat so long. But it was steaming quite a bit out of the valve cover cap, and it had me worried for a while. But as you can see, I'm trying to quit doing that. I think it just had a bunch of moisture inside the engine when we had it all apart. So everything should be good now. But I'll give her a little rev here so you can hear it. Alrighty guys, well, that'll do it for this video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.